I was reluctant, but I did it. I did it for this What Would You Make challenge. I'll drop subtle hints throughout the video and at the end reveal what I did differently to make these projects stand out from the rest. I'm Melissa. This is CraftCrumbs. Thank you for joining me. I picked up this hanging wood blank from Michael's last week. I'm going to start by dismembering it, and then I'll use the smallest and the largest arch from the set. Before I glue them together, I'm looking for defects in the wood that I can put toward the back. It's common to find at least one defect in low-cost wood with rounded edges. Using my wood glue super glue from the Dollar Tree, I'm going to glue these two pieces together and clamp them in place while I continue to work. Using a small amount of spackle, I'll fill in all of the holes except the one at the top of that smaller piece. While that glue starts to set up, I'm going to take a small piece of rattan, however you say it, and laying it flat under the wood piece, I'm going to trace, cut, and set it aside while I paint. I'm just using one coat of Waverly chalk paint in the color Snow White. And when that's dry, we're ready to move on to the next step. And this part requires a little bit of trickery, hence my tiny pieces of tape over here. I want to have this tape at the ready because trying to tear off individual pieces while maneuvering this rattan is just not going to work. With the wrong side, the side with the defects, facing up, I'm going to start to fit and tape this rattan in place. These will serve as extra hands for me while I work. I tape it just enough to make sure that everything is laying flat and nothing is bulging. And then I'm going to flip it over to the front side, and I'm actually going to glue the back on from the front side. This allows me to keep an eye on that pattern to make sure it's not shifting, that my rows in the rattan stay straight. And by pushing down on the frame, I'm able to hold it in place further as I remove the tape. If you're enjoying this video, let me know by giving it a like. Share it with your friends and comment. For those of you viewing on your TV, you too can get in on the conversation. Just open the YouTube app on your smartphone or tablet, look for this video in your history, and leave a kind word in the comments. By giving this kind of support, you're giving your stamp of approval. And it goes a long way in letting YouTube know that this video is good enough to show other crafters like us. Truly, thank you for your support. I'm going to give the edges a little trim. And while doing this, I noticed that this corner here is missing one or two of the small rattan strips that probably just fell loose. The amount of attention that you give to the craftsmanship of your projects will dictate whether it's high end. Moving on to the next step, I'm going to grab this half circle that I picked up recently at Walmart. You'll see in just a second how I measured this, but I took it to the miter saw and clipped off the ends. This was an afterthought, otherwise I would have clipped the ends and then painted. Okay, so here's where you can see how I measured for clipping those ends. Before doing so, I held my arch piece on top and in place and traced around it the rectangular area that it would take up. I essentially did this because I wanted to paint everywhere except in that rectangle and ensure that I'd have a good adhesion, and used it as a guide to cut the ends off. Next, I'm going to feed a piece of fishing line through this greenery ball, and then I'll tie it in a knot to secure it. I'm going to feed this line through that hole that we left at the top of the smallest arch, and I will cap it with an 8mm bead to anchor it. And then this project is done. And here is the completed project. This can be used as a decor piece in any room, or you can take it to the bathroom or your bedroom and hang earrings from it. Let me know your ideas for this piece in the comments below. Look at these gorgeous gals. They're hosting this awesome playlist event. You can find a link to the entire binge-worthy playlist in my description box below. All you need is some popcorn and an afternoon or 3. This next one is very fast and easy. I picked up 2 of these rainbow wood cutouts from the Dollar Tree. Using acrylic paint in alternating colors, white and pavement, I covered the high and low areas of the rainbow. And with a little wood glue, I attached these 2 together to make an oval shape. And again, from the Dollar Tree, I have one of these wooden slats that came in a pack of 5 or 6. I'll use this to cover the hole in the middle of the rainbows, but I'll first make it decorative by putting on a piece of scrapbooking paper from my stash. When adding Mod Podge to the top of the paper, I wipe some of it back to eliminate any brush strokes. This step probably isn't necessary, but I'm a stickler for making sure I don't have a lot of glue seepage. Turning this piece over, I'm going to trace out that wood blank so I know where I need to keep my glue. I'll paint it to match the rest of the underside and then add 4 wood beads to give it feet. Off camera, I had cut down a piece of floral foam to fit that rectangle and then added in a few of my mini succulents and moss. Here is what it looks like complete. It can be functional as a catch-all tray where you drop your keys and coins, or decorative by putting in those succulents or other floral arrangements. Let me know in the comments what you think about this one. My friend, I have saved the best project for last, and you have made it here. Thank you for staying with me. I'm starting this project by stringing up 1/2-inch wood beads. I'm going to need 2 strands, each at 41 beads. I'm going to use 7 24-inch hobby boards from Home Depot. 5 of them I'm going to use intact, and then the other 2 I'll cut down to fit as we go. Starting with 3 of the boards intact, I'm going to lay them out and attach each strand that we did with wood beads in between the boards. This will be the back of the project, so I'm just taking my fingers and pushing the beads down in between the boards as far as they'll go to hit the craft mat below it. And that'll just make sure that the design is completely flush in the front. While that glue starts to dry, I'm going to start planning the sides, top, and bottom of the piece. I'm not attaching anything yet, I'm just measuring. I'm going to need a 10.5-inch piece for the top and the same size for the bottom, so I go to the miter saw and cut those down. And I'll also cut 2 pieces, each at 9 inches, for the optional interior shelf, which you'll see in just a few minutes. Coming back the next day, I can see that everything is nice and dry and everything looks really good and solid. I'm going to flip it over so I can get to work on the top, bottom, and sides. And again, I'm just using that same wood glue to adhere these. Now I'm going to glue those 2 9-inch pieces of wood together, and this is just going to give me a thicker shelf. Using spackle from the Dollar Tree, I'm going to fill in over that crack between the 2 boards and try to hide it as much as possible. I just did a ton of gluing, so I'm stepping away for an hour to give it a little time to dry. And then outside, I use Rust-Oleum flat white paint and cover the entire piece as well as that shelf we just made. Here I'm measuring to find the halfway point. And this is where I'll slide that shelf in. This shelf will be removable and you can put it at any height and change it later if you wish. It'll have a very snug fit and there's no glue needed here. If I want to reposition or entirely remove the shelf, all I have to do is pivot it forward and then pull it out. As one of the final steps, I'm going to decoupage a napkin onto the right side of this wall shelf. The napkin is not long enough, so I'm piecing together 2 different parts to cover the entire 24 inches. I didn't like the demarcation between the 2 pieces, so I'm just taking a smaller piece of the napkin, ripping it out, and applying it to cover that trouble spot. Next, I'm installing hardware by adding 2 cup handles to that front side that we decoupaged. And off camera, I added 2 1-inch D-rings to the back to hang it. Here is a look back at what we've created today. You've waited patiently to watch these projects play out and to know what I did differently with this video. It's something that I absolutely contest. But all I did differently was plan. I planned it out by drawing the projects on a sketch pad, knowing and understanding the measurements that I needed for everything, and how I wanted to present it to you. And this was in an effort to bring you the best content in the least amount of time. As for those subtle hints, at the beginning of each project, I show a number of light bulbs from 1 to 3 that represent the amount of planning that went into each. I hope you enjoyed these projects. Thanks for stopping in, and until next time, don't forget to craft what you love.